First contact gone wrong. The Starship Endeavour glided silently through the inky void, its sleek hull reflecting the distant starlight. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen adjusted her dress uniform, dark eyes fixed on the looming purple and green orb of Xylox Prime. The homeworld of the Galactic Confederation grew larger in the viewscreen, a swirling marble that held humanity's hopes for a brighter future among the stars. Final approach, Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced from the helm, his voice steady despite the palpable tension on the bridge. The Xyloxian High Command has cleared us for landing. Sarah nodded, her mind racing through the diplomatic protocols she'd studied for months. This mission was Earth's best chance at joining the Galactic Confederation, a step that could propel humanity into a new era of interstellar cooperation and technological advancement. As the Endeavour descended through Xylox Prime's atmosphere, Sarah's son Max peered out a nearby window, his eyes wide with wonder. At just 10 years old, Max had insisted on accompanying his mother on this historic journey, his curiosity about alien worlds outweighing any fear of the unknown. "Mom, look," Max exclaimed, pointing at the alien landscape below. "The buildings are floating." Sarah smiled, grateful for her son's infectious enthusiasm. "Remember, sweetie, we're guests here. We must be on our best behavior." The ship touched down on a crystalline landing pad, and Sarah led her team out onto Xyloxian soil. A delegation of tall, willowy aliens with iridescent skin awaited them, their expressions unreadable. High Counselor Zix, the leader of the Xyloxian delegation, stepped forward. "Welcome to Xylox Prime, Captain Chen." Zix's telepathic voice resonated in Sarah's mind. "We trust your journey was uneventful." Sarah bowed slightly, careful to maintain eye contact as per Xyloxian custom. "Thank you, High Counselor. We are honored to be here and look forward to productive discussions." As the diplomatic team was escorted to their quarters, Max tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mom, can I explore the gardens? They look so amazing." Sarah hesitated, then nodded. "All right, but stay within sight of our security detail." Over the next few days, negotiations progressed slowly. The Xyloxians seemed interested in Earth's cultural diversity and adaptability, but were hesitant about granting full membership to such a young spacefaring race. Sarah worked tirelessly, presenting Earth's case with passion and logic. On the 5th day, as Sarah was deep in discussion with Zix about potential technology exchanges, a commotion erupted outside the conference chamber. Shouts and the sound of energy weapons filled the air. Sarah's blood ran cold. "Max," she whispered, her maternal instincts screaming danger. She rushed out of the room, Zix close behind. In the gardens, a scene of chaos unfolded. Xyloxian security forces surrounded a small, crumpled form on the ground. Sarah's heart stopped as she recognized the blue shirt her son had been wearing. "No," she screamed, pushing past the guards. "Max." Sarah fell to her knees beside her son's still body. Max's eyes were open, staring blankly at the alien sky, a scorched hole in his chest where an energy blast had struck him. Lieutenant Rodriguez arrived moments later, his face pale with shock. "Captain, we need to leave now." But Sarah couldn't move, couldn't think. She cradled Max's body, her mind refusing to accept the reality before her. Zix approached, his telepathic voice devoid of emotion. "A regrettable incident. The child entered a restricted area, and our security forces reacted as per protocol." Sarah's head snapped up, her grief transforming into white-hot rage. "Protocol? He was a child, an innocent." Zix's expression remained impassive. "We will, of course, provide compensation as outlined in our diplomatic agreements. Now, I suggest you return to your ship. This incident has complicated our negotiations." Lieutenant Rodriguez gently pulled Sarah to her feet, supporting her as she clutched Max's body. The human delegation retreated to the Endeavour, shock and disbelief etched on every face. As the ship lifted off, leaving Xylox Prime behind, Sarah's sobs echoed through the corridors. The mission, once full of hope, had ended in tragedy. But as Earth's representatives returned home with their devastating news, they were unaware of the storm they were about to unleash. The news of Max's death spread across Earth like wildfire, igniting a global inferno of grief and rage. Footage of Captain Chen disembarking from the Endeavour, cradling her son's lifeless body, became the rallying cry for a planet united in sorrow and fury. In the halls of power, emergency meetings convened. World leaders, military commanders, and intelligence chiefs gathered to address what many were already calling an act of war. The United Earth Council chamber buzzed with tension as Admiral Zhao, head of Earth's covert space fleet program, took the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice grave, "the time for secrecy is over. For the past 2 decades, we have been developing a response to potential extraterrestrial threats. Today, I present to you Project Nemesis." The lights dimmed, and a holographic display flickered to life, showing a vast armada of sleek, powerful warships hidden in the shadows of distant moons and asteroids. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the true scale of Earth's hidden fleet was revealed. 500 ships, Admiral Zhao continued, ranging from agile fighters to planet-cracking dreadnoughts. Each vessel is equipped with technology reverse-engineered from recovered alien artifacts and enhanced by human ingenuity. We built this fleet hoping never to use it, but now that our elections have left us no choice. President Amelia Contreras stood, her eyes blazing with determination. The death of an innocent child, the son of our ambassador, cannot go unanswered. The Galactic Confederation has shown us their true nature. They see us as insignificant, expendable. It's time we show them the full might of humanity. The vote was unanimous. Operation Retribution would commence immediately. As preparations for war began, Sarah Chen found herself standing before the United Earth Council. Despite her grief, she spoke with a steel-edged resolve that silenced the chamber. "I went to Psylocke Prime seeking peace," she said, her voice barely above a whisper yet carrying to every corner of the room. "I believed in diplomacy, in the power of words to bridge the gap between our species. But they took my son, our future, and dismissed his life as a mere inconvenience." Her eyes, red-rimmed but burning with intensity, swept across the assembled leaders. "I don't ask for war, I demand justice. Not just for Max, but for every human child who deserves to grow up in a galaxy that respects our right to exist." As Sarah stepped down, Admiral Zhao approached her. "Captain," he said softly, "I have a proposal for you." Across the planet and throughout the solar system, humanity's war machine rolled to life. Shipyards hidden in the asteroids of the belt began launching vessels, their stealth systems ensuring they remained invisible to long-range sensors. On Mars and Luna, massive hangars opened, disgorging swarms of fighter craft and drop ships. The flagship of the fleet, a colossal dreadnought christened the Nemesis, emerged from its berth in the shadow of Pluto. Nearly 2 kilometers long and bristling with weapons that could reduce cities to ash, it represented the pinnacle of human military technology. Admiral Zhao stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, overseeing final preparations. Beside him, Sarah Chen gazed out at the assembling fleet, her diplomatic attire replaced by a crisp military uniform. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Zhao asked, studying her profile. Sarah nodded, her expression resolute. "I'm no longer a captain or an ambassador, Admiral. The time for words is past. I will see this through to the end." As the fleet prepared to depart, a message was broadcast across every frequency, in every language known to the Galactic Confederation. To the Xyloxian Empire and all members of the Galactic Confederation, you believed us weak. You thought you could dismiss the life of our children without consequence. You were wrong. Humanity is coming, and we bring with us the fire of retribution. Prepare yourselves, for the wrath of Earth is upon you. The message ended with a single image, the face of Max Chen, smiling innocently at the camera. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations received the transmission with varying degrees of concern and dismissal. Many laughed off the threat, confident in their technological superiority. Others, more cautious, began to mobilize their defenses. None of them truly understood the storm that was headed their way. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Admiral Zao gave the order. All ships, prepare for FTL jump. Our destination, Xylox Prime. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not be trifled with. Sarah Chen stood at the Admiral's side, her hand resting on a locket containing a lock of Max's hair. As the fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time, she whispered a quiet promise. "We're coming, sweetheart, and they'll never forget your name." The Earth fleet vanished in a series of blinding flashes, leaving behind a solar system holding its breath, waiting for news of the coming conflict. Humanity had hidden in the shadows, building its strength in secret. Now, provoked beyond endurance, they were stepping onto the galactic stage not as supplicants, but as avengers. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the lengths to which humans will go to protect their own. The effect was devastating. Ships vaporized in brilliant flashes of light. The space station's docking arms sheared off, sending the attached vessels spinning into the void. On the Nemesis bridge, Sarah watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and horror. The power they wielded was terrifying, but a part of her, the part that ached for her lost son, felt a grim satisfaction. As the last of the Confederation ships fell silent, Joe turned to his crew. "Damage report." "Minimal, sir," came the reply. "Our shields held. We've lost a few fighters, but overall, our fleet is at 98% combat effectiveness." Sarah's eyes remained fixed on the debris field that had once been the Confederation blockade. They never stood a chance, did they? Zao shook his head. "We've spent decades preparing for this, Sarah. Every encounter, every scrap of alien technology we could salvage or reverse engineer, it all led to this moment." A quiet alert chimed from the communication station. "Sir," the officer reported, "we're receiving transmissions from multiple sectors. Word of our victories is spreading. Some are messages of support." Sarah's eyebrows rose in surprise. Support from whom? The officer's fingers danced across his console. Smaller worlds, mostly. Species that have felt oppressed by the Confederation. They're offering assistance, intelligence. Some are even pledging military support. A small smile tugged at Sarah's lips. It seemed that act of defiance had struck a chord across the galaxy. Perhaps humanity wasn't as alone as they'd thought. "Send them our thanks," she said, "and let them know that once we've dealt with Xylox Prime, we'll be happy to discuss a new order for the galaxy. One built on mutual respect and true justice." As the fleet prepared for its final jump to Xylox Prime, Sarah felt a shift in the air. What had started as a mission of vengeance was becoming something more. They weren't just fighting for Max anymore, or even just for Earth. They were fighting for every species that had ever been deemed lesser by the Confederation. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the charge. "All ships, prepare for the final jump," Joe announced. "Next stop, Xylox Prime." As the fleet vanished into FTL, Sarah closed her eyes, picturing Max's smile. "We're almost there, sweetheart," she whispered. "Almost there." The Xyloxian home system blazed into view as Earth's fleet dropped out of FTL. The purple-green orb of Xylox Prime hung in space, surrounded by a complex network of orbital stations and defense platforms. Hundreds of ships swarmed around the planet, a hastily assembled defense force drawn from every corner of the Confederation. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Admiral Zao and Sarah Chen stood side by side, gazing at the formidable array before them. "They've been busy," Zao remarked, his tone neutral as he assessed the enemy forces. Sarah's eyes were fixed on the planet below, her expression a mask of determination. "It won't be enough." Zao nodded, then turned to address the fleet. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Fighters, prepare to launch on my mark." Remember your training, remember why we're here, and remember, we are humanity. We will not fail." As the Earth fleet moved into position, a transmission cut through the tense silence. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the face of High Counselor Zix, the same Azyloxian official who had dismissed Max's death as a mere incident. "Humans," Zix began, his tone a mixture of anger and poorly concealed fear, "your reckless actions have brought you to the heart of the Confederation. You violated our laws, attacked our ships, and threatened the stability of the galaxy. Stand down now, and perhaps we can negotiate terms for your surrender." Sarah stepped forward, her voice cold and clear. "High Counselor Zix, do you remember me?" Recognition flickered in the Azyloxian's eyes, followed quickly by unease. "Ambassador Chen, your presence here is unexpected." "I'm no longer an ambassador," Sarah replied. "I'm here as a mother and as a representative of humanity. You killed my son and thought there would be no consequences. You were wrong." She gestured to the fleet behind her. "We're not here to negotiate. We're here for justice, not just for Max, but for every species you've oppressed, every civilization you've deemed unworthy of respect. Your Confederation's reign of arrogance ends today." Zix's expression hardened. "So be it. You leave us no choice. All ships engage the human fleet. Destroy them at all costs." The screen went dark, and for a moment, there was silence. Then space itself seemed to erupt. The battle for the Galactic core. Energy beams lanced out from the Confederation ships, a dazzling display of destructive power. Missiles streaked across the void, leaving trails of ionized particles in their wake. The orbital defense platforms added their fire to the barrage, creating a wall of death that no fleet should have been able to survive. But the Earth ships didn't just survive, they thrived. Fighters poured from the hangar bays of human carriers, swarming towards the enemy in perfect formation. Larger ships activated their point defense systems, creating a protective screen that intercepted incoming fire with pinpoint accuracy. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega," Geo commanded. "Nemesis, target the primary orbital defense station. Fire when ready." The massive dreadnought surged forward, its main cannon charging with a low, ominous hum. Energy coalesced at the barrel's tip, building to a blinding intensity. Then, with a silent flash that seemed to momentarily outshine Tylox's sun, the Nemesis fired. The beam struck the orbital station dead center. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then cracks spread across the station's surface, energy pouring from the fissures. With a final, soundless explosion, the station disintegrated, taking a significant chunk of the Tyloxian defenses with it. "Direct hit," the weapons officer reported, a note of awe in his voice. "Enemy orbital defenses are down by 30%. Sarah watched the battle unfold, her heart racing. The sheer scale of destruction was overwhelming, but she forced herself to focus on why they were here. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reshaping the galaxy into a place where no innocent child, human or alien, would suffer as Max had. As the battle raged on, it became clear that despite their numbers, the Confederation forces were outmatched. Human technology, honed in secret over decades and enhanced by reverse-engineered alien tech, proved superior at every turn. Fighters executed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, outflanking their opponents with ease. Larger ships shrugged off hits that should have vaporized them, their advanced shields and armor proving more than a match for Confederation weapons. But it wasn't just technology that gave the humans an edge. There was a ferocity to their fighting, a determination that seemed to border on the supernatural. Every human in the fleet fought as if the fate of their entire species hung in the balance, because, in a way, it did. As the tide of battle turned decisively in Earth's favor, Sarah noticed something unexpected. Several Confederation ships had broken off from the main force and were retreating. No, not retreating. They were attacking their own allies. "Admiral," she called out, pointing to the row ships. "What's happening there?" Zeo studied the tactical display, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "It seems we've inspired some defections. Looks like not everyone in the Confederation is happy with the current order of things." The comm officer's voice cut through the bridge. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from multiple Confederation ships. They're asking to surrender." A hush fell over the bridge. This was it, the moment of truth. How humanity responded now would shape the future of galactic relations for generations to come. All eyes turned to Sarah. She had started this war. It seemed fitting that she should decide how it ended. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, her hand going to the locket that held Mac's lock of hair. When she opened them again, her gaze was clear and determined. "Accept their surrender," she said, her voice steady. "Tell them to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that continues to fight will be destroyed, but those who surrender will be treated fairly." Joe nodded, relaying the orders. Across the battlefield, Confederation ships began to go dark, their weapons powering down as they signaled their capitulation. "What about Psylocke Prime itself?" Joe asked quietly. Sarah stared at the planet below, her expression unreadable. With a word, she could order its destruction. Part of her, the grieving mother who still woke up screaming from nightmares of Mac's death, wanted to do just that. But that wasn't why they had come all this way. It wasn't what Max would have wanted. "Send a message to the planetary government," she said finally. "Tell them we're coming down. It's time to negotiate the terms of a new galactic order. One based on mutual respect and true justice." As shuttles prepared to descend to Psylocke Prime's surface, Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, she knew, other species were watching, waiting to see what humanity would do next. They had come seeking retribution, but perhaps in the end, they would find something greater, a chance to build a better galaxy for all. The war was over. The real work was about to begin. Hours later, Sarah found herself standing in the grand hall of the Psylockean High Council, once a symbol of the Confederation's power and arrogance. Now, it stood as a testament to the changing tide of galactic politics. Representatives from dozens of species, both former Confederation members and newly recognized civilizations, filled the chamber. High Councillor Zix, his proud demeanor now replaced by a mixture of fear and resignation, addressed the assembly. "In light of recent events, and in the interest of galactic peace, the Confederation hereby recognizes the sovereignty of Earth and its right to representation in galactic affairs." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Sarah stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "We accept your recognition, but let me be clear. We are not here to simply take your place at the top of a flawed hierarchy. We propose a new system, a true galactic community where all sentient species have an equal voice." She gestured to the diverse crowd. "Look around you. In this room, we have the opportunity to forge a new path, one of cooperation, mutual respect, and shared progress. The old Confederation failed because it was built on fear and oppression. Let us build something better together." A new order emerges. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Psylocke Prime, and the galaxy was a changed place. The grand hall of the newly formed Galactic Alliance bustled with activity as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered for the annual summit. The chamber, a marvel of cooperative engineering, incorporated architectural elements from dozens of species, symbolizing the new era of collaboration. Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's senior ambassador to the Alliance, stood at the podium, addressing the diverse assembly. Her hair had begun to gray at the temples, but her eyes still burned with the same intensity that had driven humanity's revolution. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall, 5 years ago, we stood at a crossroads. The old Confederation lay in ruins, and before us stretched 2 paths, one of continued conflict and isolation, and another of unity and mutual growth. Today, I am proud to say we chose the latter. Holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber, showcasing the progress made since the formation of the Alliance. New trade routes connected previously isolated worlds. Joint scientific endeavors had led to breakthroughs in medicine, technology, and environmental restoration. A combined peacekeeping fleet, with ships from dozens of species working in harmony, patrolled the galaxy's troubled regions. But our work is far from over, Sarah continued, her tone growing more serious. Even now, there are those who resist change, who cling to old prejudices and fears. Remnants of the old Confederation continue to cause trouble in the outer systems. New challenges arise daily as we learn to coexist and cooperate across vastly different cultures and biologies. A ripple of concern passed through the audience, but Sarah raised her hand, her expression resolute. Yet I stand before you today not with fear, but with unwavering confidence. For I have seen what we can accomplish when we work together. I have witnessed the incredible adaptability, creativity, and compassion that exists in every species represented here. She gestured to a massive viewscreen behind her, showing a live feed from a distant space station, a joint scientific outpost where researchers from a dozen different species worked side by side, pushing the boundaries of knowledge. This is our future, Sarah declared. Not conquest, not domination, but collaboration. Together, we will explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy. We will unlock the secrets of the universe. We will face whatever challenges await us not as separate, competing species, but as a united galactic community. As Sarah's words rang out, a small commotion near the back of the hall caught her attention. A group of children, human, Thyloxian, and several other species had entered quietly. They moved together, their differences forgotten in the universal language of childhood friendship. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. For a moment, she saw Max in every one of those faces, the future they had fought for, the promise of a better tomorrow. "Look around you," she said softly, emotion coloring her voice. "Look at how far we've come. Look at the future we're building, not just for ourselves, but for them." She gestured to the children, who were now watching the proceedings with wide-eyed curiosity. As the session concluded, Sarah found herself approached by an unlikely pair, Admiral Zao, now serving as the head of the Alliance's combined fleet, and former High Counselor Zix, who had become one of the strongest advocates for reform within the Thyloxian government. "Impressive speech, Ambassador," Zao said, a hint of pride in his voice. "You've come a long way from that grieving mother I met on the Nemesis." Sarah smiled, but there was still a hint of sadness in her eyes. "We've all come a long way, Admiral, but the journey's not over yet." Zix nodded, his iridescent skin shimmering with emotion. "Indeed. I want you to know, Ambassador Chen, that not a day goes by when I don't think of your son. His death was a tragedy, one that I will forever regret. But from that tragedy, we've built something truly remarkable." Sarah regarded the Thyloxian for a long moment. The anger and hatred she had once felt towards his entire species had long since faded, replaced by a determined resolve to create a better future. "Thank you, Zix. Max would have loved this. All these different beings working together, learning from each other. In a way, his dream has become reality." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a sector of space near the galaxy's outer rim. A cluster of unidentified ships had appeared, their design unlike anything in the Alliance database. "First contact," Jaya breathed, his eyes widening. "A completely new species." Sarah straightened, squaring her shoulders. This was the moment they had all been preparing for, a true test of the principles they had been building over the past 5 years. "Well then," she said, a hint of her old determination creeping into her voice, "let's go welcome them to the neighborhood. Together." As they moved to convene an emergency session of the Alliance leadership, Sarah's hand went to the locket she still wore around her neck. "What do you think, Max?" she whispered, ready for a new adventure. And for a moment, just a moment, she could have sworn she felt a warm presence beside her, urging her forward into the unknown future they had all worked so hard to create. The galaxy, vast and full of wonders, awaited, and humanity, no longer alone, no longer afraid, was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, not as conquerors, but as partners in a grand cosmic dance of discovery and cooperation. The holographic display flickered as it zoomed in on the unidentified vessels, their sleek, organic shapes unlike anything the Alliance had encountered before. Sarah, Admiral Zeo, and Zix hurried towards the emergency session, their footsteps echoing through the gleaming corridors of the Alliance headquarters. As they entered the grand chamber, a hush fell over the assembled representatives. Beings from across the known galaxy, humans, Phyloxians, and a dozen other species, turned their attention to the newcomers. Sarah took her place at the central podium, flanked by Zeo and Zix. "Esteemed colleagues," Sarah began, her voice steady and clear, "we stand at the threshold of a momentous occasion. An unknown species has entered Alliance space, presenting us with an opportunity to put our principles into practice." Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the holographic display expanded, showing the alien ships in greater detail. Their hulls seemed to shimmer and pulse with an inner light, hinting at technology far beyond current Alliance capabilities. Ambassador Chen, a Regilian delegate, called out, their crystalline form refracting the chamber's light. "How can we be certain these newcomers are peaceful? Should we not take defensive measures?" Sarah paused, considering her words carefully. 5 years ago, I might have agreed with you. But we've learned that fear and mistrust only breed more of the same. We must approach this situation with open minds and open hearts. Zix stepped forward, his voice resonating with conviction. "I concur with the ambassador. It was not so long ago that my own people were seen as the enemy. Yet here we stand, united. We must extend the same opportunity to these newcomers." Admiral Zhao nodded, adding his perspective. "While I advocate for caution, I believe our strength lies not in our weapons, but in our unity. We should prepare a delegation to make first contact, a group that represents the diversity and spirit of our alliance." As the chamber erupted into discussion, Sarah felt a familiar warmth in her chest. She glanced down at her locket, a small smile playing on her lips. In her mind's eye, she could almost see Max standing beside her, his eyes shining with excitement at the prospect of a new discovery. "The delegation will need a leader," a voice called out, cutting through the chatter. All eyes turned to Sarah. For a moment, she hesitated. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders, bringing with it memories of loss and hardship. But then she remembered the faces of the children she had seen earlier, the future they were building. Sarah squared her shoulders and addressed the chamber. "If the Alliance will have me, I would be honored to lead this mission. We've come too far to let fear dictate our actions now. Let's show these newcomers what we've built here, a community of diverse beings working together in harmony." A chorus of approval rang out, and Sarah felt a surge of pride and determination. As the session concluded and preparations for the mission began in earnest, she found herself gazing out at the stars through a vast window. "Well, Max," she whispered, her hand on the locket, "looks like we're in for quite an adventure. I wish you could be here to see it." As if in response, a shooting star streaked across the velvet blackness of space. Sarah smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever wonders or dangers these new beings might bring, she knew that the spirit of cooperation and understanding they had fostered would light their way. The Alliance fleet, a testament to unity in diversity, began to assemble. As Sarah boarded the flagship, she carried with her the hopes and dreams of countless beings across the galaxy. The unknown awaited, but this time, they would face it not with fear, but with curiosity, compassion, and the unshakable belief that together they could overcome any obstacle. The ships engaged their drives, leaving behind a trail of shimmering light as they ventured into the cosmic unknown. A new chapter in galactic history was about to unfold, and Sarah Chen, once a grieving mother, now a symbol of interstellar diplomacy, was ready to write it.